Salute to all the real ones out there. It's your boy Mike coming at you again with another video. If you like the direction that my channel is going in, you've seen the other content that I've uploaded, like, comment, subscribe, and share those videos with anybody you think may benefit from them. All right. So today's topic is going to be about Jezebel, the Jezebel Spirit. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys might have heard this term before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the history of Jezebel, and then I'm going to, talk about some of the common traits that you can see that this spirit has. All right. So Jezebel, she died around like 843 BCE, and in the Bible, specifically the Book of Kings, Jezebel was the wife of Ahab, who was a king who ruled over Israel during that time. So she did a number of things that basically made her name very notorious. For one, she interfered with the exclusive worship of the Hebrew God Yahweh. Secondly, she disregarded the rights of the common people. Thirdly, she defied the great prophets of Elijah and Elisha. And fourth, she provoked a mutually destructive strife that plagued Israel for decades. So in modern day times, she's like the archetype of the wicked woman. So Jezebel was the daughter of a priest king named Ethbaal, who was a ruler of coastal Phoenician cities of Tyre and Sidon, which is basically present day Lebanon, which is bordered by Syria to the north and east, Israel to the south, and Cyprus lies west across the Mediterranean Sea. Jezebel married Ahab, who ruled from 874 to 853 BCE in Israel, and she convinced him to introduce the worship of Baal Melkart, which is a Tyrian nature god. All right, so Baal is it's very arguable what type of god he was, or this deity was, and you can see some of the things that they practiced back then when they worship Baal take place even in like Hollywood. Like, there's a lot of ancient history that goes on in the Bible that we're none the wiser, but it's really happening in today's society, and it leads the overall world towards cultural decay, and it has roots in like Satanism, paganism, so on and so forth, right? So Baalism is argued to be synonymous with idol worship, magic, debased cults that introduce orgies, human sacrifice, heathen worship, violent and ecstatic exercises, ceremonial acts of kissing and bowing to leadership, and other offenses that were denounced by the Israelite prophets. So I didn't say this in the beginning, but all of this stuff you guys can find in the description box below on my video. I'm a big fan of Encyclopedia Britannica. That was the series of books that I used to read a lot when I was a little kid, and on the internet site you can find a lot of these links. So if you guys want to argue about what I'm saying, or you don't think that what I'm saying has any truth, I mean, I'm going to give you some links and you can check it out. So Jezebel was basically a woman of very fierce energy. She tried to destroy anyone who opposed her, and most of the prophets of Yahweh were actually killed at her command. These cruel actions provoked the righteous wrath of Elijah, and according to 1 Kings 17, he accurately prophesies a severe drought as a divine retribution, as basically karma for all of the bad things that she was doing. Elijah also had the Baal priests slain, and Jezebel swore to have Elijah killed, which made him flee for his life. So if you think about what's going on here, you basically have a righteous kingdom who's led by Ahab, and then you have a wife that comes from a different area, a different region, who has a motive in her head to lead that kingdom astray from the religious principles that they were following for all the years before. So you have a man who marries a woman and then follows her thinking, and that eventually leads the kingdom to be in a civil war amongst itself. And you have prophets that are trying to warn the king that, hey, your wife is leading you guys astray, and there will be divine, let's say, intervention for the fact that you're leaving the faith that has kept the kept Israel intact for all these years. Now, understand, I'm not the most religious person, but I'm just trying to give y'all the history of Jezebel so you can see how it plays in modern day. All right, so this is still the history part, and on the second part of the video, I'm gonna go into the traits that you can see modern women have because they are tainted by the spirit of Jezebel. All right. So Jezebel's last vicious act was recorded in 1 Kings 21 verses 5 through 16. Basically, next to Ahab's palace was a very rich vineyard, which he coveted. So the king really wanted to have this vineyard that was next to his palace. And it was owned by a commoner whose name was Naboth of Jezreel. Jezreel is like a city in modern day Israel, right? When Naboth refused to give up his vineyard, Jezebel falsely charged him of blasphemy, which led to his death via stoning. So you can see that's very fucked up. You know what I mean? Here you have a king that has a palace and he controls the entire land, and he just wants this vineyard. And the other, the commoner, Naboth, he basically denied the king of the vineyard because it had been passed down through generation. So imagine, like your family owns this vineyard since hundreds of years, and then now you're the new person to take it over. And then a king just comes and says, hey, I want this vineyard. You might object and be like, hey, this has been passed down through families or my family generation, and I want to hold on to it, to secure my future wealth, to make sure that my family has somewhere to basically get some money and have something coming in. And then the wife of the king, the queen, basically comes and makes up some bullshit about you, and without no further investigation, you get your ass killed via stoning. That's fucked up, right? So Elijah then confronted Ahab in the vineyard and predicted that he and his heirs would be destroyed, and that dogs of the same city that Naboth is from, which is Jezreel, will devour Jezebel. All right, so that's a crazy prediction to get, but check out how it played out. So years later, Ahab perished in a battle with the Syrians who were trying to take over Israel. And Jezebel went to live on for another 10 years. Elijah's successor, which is Elisha the prophet, determined to end Baal worship. She wanted to end it just like Elijah did, because obviously Israel is under attack from different lands and the whole nation is under basically chaos. So Elisha had a military commander named Jehu anointed to be the king of Israel. And this was an act that caused civil war because at the time, Joram, which was Jezebel's son, commanded over Israel. So Jehu killed Joram, which is the son of Jezebel, at the site of Naboth's property. Then went to Jezebel's palace and ordered eunuchs. If you guys don't know what eunuchs are basically servants, which are men that are castrated, which work within the kingdom. And they basically, it makes sense. If they're castrated, then they won't have any sexual desires, right? So they're just basically honorable servants that take care of whatever the king or queen want within the palace. But basically Jehu ordered the eunuchs to throw Jezebel out of the window of the palace. And of course she died. And then he later commanded that she be properly buried because she was the daughter of a former king. But what happened? It was later found out that dogs had devoured most of her body. So basically Elijah's prediction came true. All right, so that's a whole lot of stuff going on with Jezebel, but she's basically a character in the Bible that led, that convinced the king of Israel back then, which is Ahab, to go astray from their religious principles, to stop following the teachings of Yahweh, and to start following a different god, which was named Baal, who, wanted human sacrifice and all these other crazy things. So basically just led astray the entire nation. And through that, there was a bunch of civil war, and she destroyed anyone, and she had a whole bunch of religious leaders and prophets killed at her command. And basically through her, everything came crashing down. And Elijah predicted that she would die a vicious death, which she did. She got thrown out the window and ate by dogs from the same dude who she had killed, which was Naboth, in order to get that vineyard. dogs from his city devoured her body. So isn't that crazy? Now, like I said, don't quote me on none of this stuff. You guys can just read the links for yourself. I just kind of want to try to summarize. I paraphrase a lot of this stuff just so you guys would get the history of the Jezebel spirit. Basically, she's the archetype for the wicked woman. So if you ever hear someone say, "Oh, that's a Jezebel" or whatever, it's usually a woman who has certain traits, right? So to be a Jezebel is to be considered an impudent meaning not showing respect, shameless or morally unrestrained woman. And that's via Merriam-Webster's definition. So 10 Jezebel traits, which is basically the spirit that is inhabiting many women today. This can be found also in the link, the description box below. So Jezebel is a woman, so it's a spirit that will inhabit women. So if you think about our culture, many women have this energy. All right, and I'm going to go into detail. So 2, Jezebel loves authority and being in control. So think about like that mantra of women screaming that they're strong and independent, which comes from the feminist movement. Or I don't need no man. You know what I mean? So 3, these women fight for equality. They want to be like men, hence feminists. So you got to understand a woman is very different from and cannot be equal to a man. I mean, this is not me. I didn't make this shit up. In every single religion, the man was created first, then the woman was created after that. And it's against God's order for an older woman, for example, to marry a younger man out of the desire to control him. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be God, man, woman, then child. It's supposed to go in like a hierarchy. But in today's society, since we're so led astray and it's like a godless world, you know, many people have all roles all confused, and the devil controls out of chaos. It makes, like, the devil controls everything because people are confused about who they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be following. And like I said, I'm not the most religious person ever, but I do understand, like, the meaning for religion or some of the things that it stands on. I mean, at the end of the day, everything's coming from spirituality and an understanding of nature. If you look at nature, you can see pretty much, like I said in one of my other videos, it seems like every other creation is following its programming. It knows exactly what it's supposed to be doing, and it's playing its role. But humans are the only ones that, for the most part, are just going totally away from what nature is telling you. You know what I'm saying? Nature tells man, you're supposed to try to spread your seed. Nature tells woman that you're supposed to try to find the highest value man you can find. But what's today's society telling you? That women can be just like men, that gender is just a social construct, that women should be going out, you know, getting piped down by thousands of dudes, and then whenever they're good and ready, they're supposed to settle down and try to find a man. But nature would tell you that a woman blossoms very early, and usually in history and all the past times, we could see that it was very normal for a grown man who reached maturity around 30 years old would then turn around and marry a woman who was in her teenage years, and they would have a fruitful, let's say, family, because the woman was very fertile and she reached maturity faster than a man. But she doesn't mature as long as a man does. Hence why, you know what I mean, they have these like mantras. Women age like milk and men age like wine. This is not me making this shit up. You know what I'm saying? So don't get offended. If you are, I mean, do research. Like, I'm not making it up. It didn't come from me. Number 4, Jezebel trait. The woman will be very manipulative and loves to conquer. So think about how many women today are walking around trying to act like men and trying to, you know, be very aggressive sexually, and like they're lacking all femininity. Number 5, never accepts guilt and is very defensive. Think of modern day marriages. I'm pretty sure all dudes that have been married can attest to this right here. You're always wrong. You fucked up. You got to try to backpedal and make her feel better. No matter what you say, it's getting all trumped from how she feels. And you're basically shrunk down to be a lesser version of yourself. Meanwhile, she's always the one who has the upper hand. You know what I'm saying? Relationships are domination. It's domination and submission. Ideally, it's supposed to be the man that dominates, the woman that submits. But in today's world, I can even attest to this. I'm not so used to being able to dominate because I grew up in a single-parent household where my mom was dominant. You know what I mean? Then I didn't have a dad around. Then I'm over here trying to grow up and figure out, well, okay, what is a man supposed to be? How is he supposed to act? Society telling you one thing, then your results are totally different. You know what I'm saying? I learned when I truly didn't give a fuck about what no woman thought, and I put myself first, and I said, all right, it's my way or the highway. I got the best results from women. But every song in the whole world was telling me, you know what I mean, cater to the woman, treat that woman right, give her respect, love her, show her that you care, blah, blah, blah. And then when I did that, I'm over here with a woman that's trying to trump everything I say and trying to be in charge and lead me. So what's it supposed to be? Jezebel uses beauty and sex to her advantage. So I saw this a lot in the military. You know what I mean? Women trying to use their sexual nature in order to advance and get promoted faster. Think about the police. Your ass is too small to really be coming in, kicking down a door and raiding a building of drug dealers like with men. But somehow you're in that position. Is it because you're really so skilled, or is it because you fucking the captain? Most professions, look at how women advance. It's usually not based on the merit of their skill or what they're bringing to the table work-wise. It's usually based on their sexuality or their beauty, and they use that to their advantage. I mean, I can't knock it, but I'm just calling out facts. And then think about Instagram and social media, you know. Jezebel serves Baal. So basically, they worship prosperity, fertility, sex, and money. Nothing more, nothing less. But Jezebel also considers herself to be goddess. So think about how many women today expect males to worship them as the prize. They shower themselves in attention. You know what I mean? They also denounce the true gospel and will deter you from a righteous path. So if you're a dude who wants to abstain from drugs, abstain from, let's say, things that you know will bring you down into your lower animal nature, the Jezebel will do everything to shake you from thinking that way. She'll try to bring you over to the other side, hence corrupting your overall plan to get closer with God or to achieve enlightenment or self-actualization. And last but not least, the Jezebel will always lie to seem good. She'll cover her evil deeds with lies. This is just typical female deception. Like, think about how many females will tell you they've only been with 3 dudes, but literally probably been with like 50 motherfuckers, but won't even add them in because in her mind it doesn't count. And women are experts at being able to lie to their own self. They can look in the mirror, lie to their own self, believe that fucking lie. So how can you ever really figure out the truth? You know what I mean? Now, of course, there's always going to be somebody that jumps in. Well, not all women are like that. I mean, goddamn it. I'm not talking about every single woman on the planet. I'm talking about women who are, you know, controlled by a Jezebel spirit. So that was the history of Jezebel and how it kind of plays into the modern day. So I hope y'all got something out of this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll holler at you on the next one.